Last month, I made $8,900 for my web design agency. The month before that, I made just under $7,000. And the month before that, I made $7,400. To give you a little bit of context, I'm a one-person operation, and I run this whole thing out of a small town in central Vermont with only about 2,500 people. So I don't live in Los Angeles or New York City. I'm a one-person small business web designer, and I near $10,000 per month in revenue on a regular basis. I have no employees, no investors, and no online following. In this video, I'm gonna break down the exact three-step process that makes this possible. Plus, I'm gonna give you the exact cold call script I've used to land 30 web design clients, design questionnaire that I use with every one of them to understand their business. I'm also gonna include a link to a web scraper that I use to help find prospects that I can use for cold calling. If any of that sounds like something you might need, I encourage you to stick around and let's get into it. 2 years ago, I knew nothing about coding or running a business. I started with one client, my wife, and I built her website for free, and now I have over 30 monthly clients that pay me every month $175 to manage their website. So when I say I make almost $10,000 a month managing these websites, I wanna be clear just about how that breaks down and where that money is coming from. Because it's not actually one source, it's 3 different sources. And the way in which you structure your web design agency will make a huge difference in how hard you have to work to find clients, how hard you have to work to retain them, and how much stress you'll go through in a month where maybe you don't have a sale. The main source of income for me, and the way I would encourage any small business web designer that's starting out to structure their business, would be subscriptions. So what do I mean by that? I have 30 clients that pay me $175 a month, and that is effectively a $0 down website payment plan where they put $0 down, I build them or redesign them a professional looking website, I manage it fully for them. I also do things like manage their Google business profile, and they pay me $175 a month indefinitely for this service. If they decide to leave, they don't keep the website, and they understand that they'll have to start over with someone new. So at 30 clients, that's over $5,000 and essentially what I would consider my salary. So those subscriptions are essentially my floor. At 30 clients at $175 per month, I know at the very least every month what I'm going to bring into the business is around $5,250. Whether or not I sell anything new, that's the money I know will be coming into my business, which takes a huge amount of pressure off of making sales every single month, although I still try and do that. The second is add-on services. So once I get a website client, I'll try and sell them additional things like Google business profile management, meta advertising, or Google advertising. I would say of my existing website clients, 25 to 30% of those clients opt in for an add-on service. So either blog content, social media content, or Google business profile management. That amounts to roughly $2,000 per month. And then the third would just be one-off projects. While I definitely prefer the subscription-based pricing for a website, if someone reaches out to me and they're firm on wanting a lump sum project or just like a project-based pricing project, I will do that. It's just not necessarily my preference. And in a good month, that can be up to $10,000 of additional income. And in a bad month, maybe, $1,200 just for some add-on pages to an existing website. So today, I'm gonna show you exactly how I do this. How do I talk to clients? How do I pitch myself? How do I handle pricing objections? And I'll also offer you some free tools that'll help streamline the process for you a bit as you're getting going. This is not a get-rich-quick video, but what I can say is if you follow some of these steps and you don't quit and you put in the work, you will see results. That much I can promise you. When you charge for your websites on a project basis, that means every month you're starting from zero. If you don't sell another website, then you don't know where your next $5,000, $6,000 is coming from. And as a business owner, that's a huge issue. But when you charge for a subscription, or instead of selling a product, you're actually selling a service, the math changes completely. The best way that I can kind of conceptualize this concept is that project pricing earns you a paycheck and subscription prices earns you a business. Now here's the part that took me a long time to figure out, and I had to constantly grapple with this question when I was on the phone with prospects and they asked me, well, why can't I just pay you $2,000 once? Why do I have to pay you every single month, even months when you're not doing any work? When you switch to a subscription-based model, you're no longer selling a product so much as you are selling a service and a dependable relationship. You're essentially selling a system that the business owner doesn't have to manage themselves, that will bring them leads, make them money, and you are the point person or the relationship that they can correspond with if anything goes wrong with that system. On On the flip side, when you think about what a lot of other agencies are doing, they charge $5,000 upfront, they'll build the site, hand it off, and then oftentimes disappear because it's oftentimes built on WordPress, Wix, or Squarespace, which is a platform that the client themselves can edit. Whereas what I'm offering is a little bit different. For $175 a month, my client gets a professional web developer and their direct phone number, contact email. Unlimited edits, lifetime updates, hosting included, support essentially whenever they need it, and help with their Google business profile. When you switch to this type of model, you're no longer someone's vendor, you are their person, you're their web developer, the person that they depend on. You are the system in which they're able to keep finding new leads and making money, and the website is just a small piece of that. So when you're inevitably on the phone, whether it's a cold call or someone reaches out to you and they ask you, why do I have to pay you on a monthly basis? It's exactly what I would tell them. Most agencies will quote you $3,000 to $5,000 to build your website. I do things a little bit differently. I charge $0 down, $175 a month. That includes lifetime updates, unlimited edits, hosting, and I'll manage everything for you so you can focus on your business, which is what you do best. I'll even do things like update posts on your Google business profile, respond to reviews for you, and upload photos. I do this for you so you don't have to think about it, and it's just something that I can take off of your plate. You can call me, text me, email me, anytime. I'll always respond to you, and I'm never gonna hand you off to another person. I'll always be the one working on your site. That's my pitch. Most people are super intrigued by this because it's not something that they've often heard before. They're used to agencies that are trying to sell them on a $3,000 website build, $200 management fee. This sort of model where they don't pay any large sum upfront is very intriguing. And the fact that it has the unlimited service built into it is something that they almost can't help but ask more questions about. And then a lot of times they'll ask me again, well, like, why do I have to pay every month? Could I just continue paying until I hit that lump sum price of $3,000 or $5,000 and then stop? And this is the most important point in the sales conversation. And here's the exact answer I use to close most of my deals and handle that specific objection. Think about it this way. Your time is worth money. You need to spend your time where it brings in the most money to your business, which is exactly the same for me. Every minute that you spend trying to fix something with your Google business profile or with your website is time that you're not actually making money, you're just putting out fires. At $175 a month, you'll essentially have your own in-house web developer, which would be me, and I would handle all of that for you. I'll keep tabs on changes to Google's algorithm to make sure your site is always performing the best that it can. I'll encourage you to reach out to customers or send me a list so I can reach out to them to get more Google reviews. I'll add photos to your Google business profile so you don't have to think about it. I will worry about all these things for you so you don't have to put any mental energy towards it. At the end of the month, the website will definitely be bringing in more than $175 of value to your business, so the return is always positive for you. I mean, think about it. How much is a customer worth to your business? For a landscaper or a roofing contractor, that could be tens of thousands of dollars on an annual basis. So even if the website just brings in one new client per month, which I feel confident it will bring in more than that based on what I've seen from my other clients, but even if you just get one new customer in a year, the website's paid for itself. That's the whole pitch. I mentioned the website, but it's really about the ease that the business owner will feel based on the service, not the product, but the service that I'm providing to them. If you can get your customer to view you as a partner in this kind of sales system that they have, not only will they pay you $175 per month for the service, but they will pay you every single month for years. And the value of that client over the span of 4 to 5 years will be upwards of $10,000, where if you had gone with a project-based pricing, you might have only gotten $3,000 in a lump sum payment, and then you'd be wondering where your next $3,000 is going to be coming from in the next month. This is a totally different system, and it will give you time to actually focus on the parts of your business that will continue to let it grow. All right, now that we've covered step 1, which is actually how to structure your offer and your business, we're gonna dive into step 2, which is not fun, I will warn you, but it's lead generation, in my case, cold calling. If you go on Reddit and you talk about, does cold calling work for web design agencies? A lot of people say this doesn't work because contractors are getting thousands or hundreds of these calls every year. And that is true. You will have some really uncomfortable conversations and people will not always be happy that you're calling them. But what I can tell you from experience is that cold calling does work. I've done over 5,000 cold calls in the last 2 years, and it's what led me to be able to leave my 9-to-5 and build a successful web design agency. So I can tell you, it's a numbers game, it does work, but the most important thing about cold calling is you need to know how to sound on the phone when you're making the call and exactly what to say to to your prospect. Now, to make it a little bit easier on you and your journey, I'm gonna give you the exact script that I've used to close over 30 clients from cold calling and explain a little bit about why it works. Before I dive into that, the biggest thing is don't sound like a salesman. The second that your prospect hears, "Hey, how are you doing today? I wanted to check in real quick to see if you have a minute to talk about your online presence," they're going to hang up on you or ask you to never call back again. Here's exactly the opener I use for all of my cold calls. First, I'll say something like, "Hey, is this insert business name here?" They'll say yes or no, and you'll have to figure out who to call. And I say, "Awesome, my name's Sam. I'm actually a fellow small business owner myself. I just wanted to check in. I found you on Google and I poked around your site. I saw it's a kind of standard WordPress site that can use some work. I wanted to check in and see if I might be able to help make you something a little bit better." That's it, the whole opener. And here's why I decided to structure my opener in that way. First important part of the call is by positioning myself as a fellow small business owner, I'm immediately establishing some sort of commonality of, hey, you are in the small business world, so am I. And they're more likely to listen to you. Even in those first 3 seconds, it's almost like just confusing them a little bit. They're not used to getting someone that's calling them and saying, "Hey, I'm a small business owner." And then they're kind of, okay, what is the next thing that this person's gonna say? That's what they're thinking. They're primed to be asked about their particular service, not necessarily hear this. I'm not asking how their day is. I'm not immediately pitching them. I'm just saying, "Hey, you and I do similar things and I wanted to give you a call." And then the next key part of the discussion is I essentially tell them, "Hey, I saw your website, I looked at it, I think there's some issues and I think that we could make you something better." This is kind of a double-edged sword because in some cases, the person really likes their website already and they might take this as a criticism and just hang up on you. But the other side of it is, and someone that really cares about their business and is striving to provide their customers the best possible experience, they'll think, okay, this person thinks my website could be better. What could be better about it? And that opens the door to more conversation. That is your way in. And if someone's willing to entertain the thought that their website might not be up to date or up to snuff, then that is your opportunity to pitch yourself and make the sale. The caveat here is if you're going to say this, you need to have looked at their website and be ready with talking points as the ways in which you could be that solution to make it better. Find 1 or 2 issues, either technical or design, that you could fix and be ready to share those with them. They ask how I found them. I don't say I use the web scraper to scrape all their information and look at their reviews. I just say, yeah, I was poking around on Google. I do this. This is my small business. I run a design agency. I saw you had great reviews. People love hearing that because it's kind of like, it shows that you really looked into their business, and everyone likes to hear that they're great. Let's not lie. But you know, you had great reviews, seemed like someone that would be good to work with. Once you've talked through some of the issues on their site, if they've let you get this far, they're gonna say, all right, well, how much does that cost? And then you'll say this: I help small businesses all around the country with exactly this sort of thing. I do things a little bit differently, so I charge essentially $0 up front and then $175 a month. That includes unlimited edits, full website management, and I'll do everything for you. That's the whole pitch. At this point, if they're still on the phone with you, there's a high likelihood that they'll at least be interested in having a follow-up Zoom call. And I always offer, hey, if you'd like to do a quick call, we can hop on. It'll take 10 or 15 minutes. I'll show you some of the websites that I've worked on in the past. And if you're interested, I'd be happy to connect you with one of my current clients to talk about how their experience working with me has been. Almost no one ever takes me up on that sort of like checking, but it goes a long way to show someone, hey, I'm legit. I'm not trying to steal your money. If you want to talk to some of my clients, happy to connect you. They won't need to actually talk to your clients because they'll already trust you just based on you making the offer. And then the third step of scaffolding your web design business in a way that you can consistently achieve $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month in recurring revenue is by providing a really high quality service, which in my opinion, it doesn't start with taking one website template and then just reusing it for every single client. It starts with a customizable process that isn't overburdensome on your time, but makes the client feel really special and like you really care about them, and gives them a service that's gonna want to make them refer you to their friends and family. Referrals happen because of how your client feels at the end of the project, but also how they feel throughout the long-term relationship of you providing a service. To make sure that I'm able to get great feedback that leads to future work and referrals, I follow these 4 principles. The first one is discovery before design. So the first thing I do whenever I sign on a new client is I make them fill out the short design questionnaire, or I hop on an introductory call with them and I talk through the design questionnaire with them in live time. If you're interested in seeing this design questionnaire, there's a link in the description that'll give you free access to it. But the reality is you need to understand the business that you're working with before you can do anything else. The questionnaire talks about their services, but it also talks about their design preferences. And how are you gonna design a website for for someone if you don't know the websites that they enjoy, if you don't know the colors that they like, if you don't have their logo. All these things kind of layer on top of one another. The services, the location, the design. In order to make a website, if you don't have a solid understanding of all of that information, then in my opinion, you can't even begin. When you're starting your business, you're not going to treat your clients as clients or accounts. You should treat them like your neighbor. You should really get to know them, let them know that you are here to support them, and treat them like you really care about their business. And that will lead you to more referrals. Apart from the questionnaire, the rest of it is relatively simple. I do a Figma file mockup before starting to build the site so people know exactly what they're getting. And then the rest is really just basic. Respond in hours, not days. Don't leave your clients hanging. And treat them with respect. That's really the whole system. If you have more specific questions, drop a comment and I would be happy to dive into your specific situation. That's how I would recommend any beginner that wants to get into web design to structure their agency in a way that's not going to lead them stressed every month, wondering where their next sale is going to come from. It all boils down to subscription-based pricing, cold calling, service that earns referrals. Just as an added bonus in the description, next to the link of my design questionnaire in the description, I'll leave a link to a web scraper that I modified that will help you scrape prospects off of Google Maps, and it will significantly help you streamline your process of finding leads and making sales. And that's in the description as well. I hope this video has been helpful. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you found any value from this video. As always, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below or reach out to me via the contact form in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.